The Great Assembly Hall of the Galactic Confederation fell silent as Ambassador Elena Vasquez walked to the central podium. Representatives from over 300 species watched her approach, their various forms of curiosity, concern, and barely concealed hostility creating a tension that seemed to vibrate through the massive chamber's crystalline walls. Fleet Admiral Orcs Prime of the Hegemony War Council shifted uncomfortably in his hover throne. 6 months ago, his forces had launched what should have been a simple punitive strike against the upstart human colony on Kepler 442b. The humans had been illegally mining rare earth elements in violation of galactic mining treaties. A small fleet, a quick bombardment, problem solved. Instead, the entire Hegemony expeditionary force had simply vanished. No distress signals, no debris fields, no survivors. 200 ships and 40,000 soldiers had approached human space and ceased to exist. Distinguished delegates, Ambassador Vasquez began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation matrix. I come before you today, not as a conqueror, not as a supplicant, but as someone who hopes to prevent unnecessary tragedy. Chancellor Vex Kala of the Dominion Coalition leaned forward, his multiple eye stalks focusing on the small human woman. Ambassador, your species stands accused of destroying an entire hegemony fleet. The Confederation demands an explanation. Elena's expression remained calm, almost serene. The explanation is simple, Chancellor. The hegemony fleet attacked a human civilian mining colony. We defended ourselves. Defended? Admiral Orcs Prime's voice boomed through his translator unit. You obliterated 200 warships without a trace. What weapons could possibly? Admiral, Elena interrupted gently. You're asking the wrong question. The question isn't what weapons we used. The question is why we showed such restraint. A murmur of confusion rippled through the assembly. Restraint? Elena activated a holographic display above the podium. The image showed the Kepler 442b system as it had been 6 months ago, a small human mining operation, a few transport ships, maybe 50,000 civilians working the asteroid fields. This is what your fleet attacked, she said. Miners, engineers, families who had chosen to build a life in the outer rim. They sent a distress call when your ships opened fire on the civilian transports. The hologram shifted, showing the approach of the Hegemony fleet's sleek warships moving in perfect formation toward the defenseless mining platforms. What happened next, Elena continued, is that Earth decided to respond. The image changed again, and every delegate in the chamber leaned forward despite themselves. Where empty space had been, massive structures now appeared not ships, but installations that dwarfed entire planets. Weapons platforms that stretched across astronomical units, defensive arrays that made moons look like pebbles. For 200 years, Elena explained, humanity has been building. Not just colonies, not just ships, but infrastructure. The kind of infrastructure that a species builds when it really truly does not want to be bothered by galactic politics. Admiral Orcs Prime's translator stuttered as he tried to speak. Those installations. They weren't there when we scouted the system. Of course they weren't, Elena smiled. They were cloaked, hidden in dimensional folds, tucked away in pocket universes, waiting for the day someone would be foolish enough to attack human civilians. The hologram zoomed in on one of the installations. The scale was incomprehensible structures that could have housed entire civilizations, bristling with technology that seemed to bend space and time around itself. The thing about humans, Elena continued, is that we learn from history. We know what happens when peaceful species encounter aggressive neighbors. We know what happens when you trust that diplomacy alone will protect your people. She gestured, and the hologram showed the moment of the Hegemony fleet's destruction. Not explosions or laser blasts, but something far more terrifying, the ships simply stopped existing, erased from reality by weapons that operated on principles the assembled delegates couldn't begin to comprehend. "So we prepared," Elena said. "We built defenses that could protect not just our worlds, but our people wherever they might be. And we built them with one simple principle in mind: never again." Chancellor Vex Kaller's voice was barely above a whisper. "How many installations?" "Thousands," Elena replied matter-of-factly. "In every system where humans live or work. All connected, all automated, all programmed with the same basic instruction: protect human civilians at any cost." The chamber erupted in panicked chatter as the implications sank in. If humans had military installations throughout known space, installations that could destroy entire fleets without warning, "This is exactly why we're here today," Elena said, her voice cutting through the noise. "Because we don't want to use these defenses again. We don't want to erase anyone else from existence. We want to live in peace." She paused, letting that sink in before continuing. "But understand this: we will not allow our people to be attacked. We will not tolerate aggression against human civilians. And we will not warn anyone twice." Ambassador Elena reached into her diplomatic pouch and withdrew a small device. When she activated it, holographic markers appeared throughout the galactic map behind her thousands of red dots, indicating the locations of human defensive installations. "Every species represented in this chamber now knows where our defenses are located," she said. "You know what they're capable of. You know that they respond automatically to threats against human life." She looked directly at Admiral Zorx Prime. "You also know that these installations could have destroyed your fleet the moment it entered human space, but they waited. They waited until your ships opened fire on civilians. They gave you every opportunity to change course." The Admiral's massive form seemed to shrink in his hover throne. "That was your warning," Elena continued. "The destruction of your fleet was not an act of aggression. It was a demonstration of restraint. We could have destroyed your homeworld. We could have erased the hegemony from existence. Instead, we eliminated only the threat." She turned to address the entire assembly. "This is our final communication on this matter. Humanity wants peace. We want trade, cooperation, and mutual prosperity. But we will never again allow our people to be victims of galactic aggression." Elena deactivated the holographic display and gathered her materials. "Attack human civilians again, and you won't get a warning. You won't get a demonstration. You'll simply cease to exist, along with everything you've ever built." She paused at the podium's edge. "We hope it never comes to that. But the choice is yours." As Ambassador Elena Vasquez walked out of the Great Assembly Hall, 300 species sat in stunned silence, finally understanding that humanity had never been the weak, primitive species they'd assumed. They'd been the apex predator, patiently waiting to see who would be foolish enough to threaten their young. The vote to formally recognize human territorial sovereignty was unanimous. No one wanted to find out what happened to species that ignored Earth's last warning.